career fighting his rights. Homa Arjomand is a Canadian immigrant who fled Iran in her fight to raise awareness on women's rights. She has since become the voice of marginalized women all around the world, and in 2005 organized a protest to ban Sharia law in the Ontario courts. And human activist and coordinator of the international campaign against Sharia court in Canada, Homa Arjomand joins us now. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Well, tell us, are you surprised at all that Karzai has not completely backed down on the law?
No, not at all. Even to Trump's part, that was due to global pressure. And I believe the moment we eased on this pressure, they would impose the most inhuman law and regulation against women. They would impose whatever they can. So it is a political movement against women's rights, and that's why we have to guard it. And we are running a political and social campaign against this organized gang religious group.
Explain to us again, if that's into effect, how does it directly affect Afghan women?
For sure, you already can see that we would go back to medieval time. Women would have no rights for their custody. Women would have absolutely no rights for equality. They cannot even leave home without the permission of their husband or uncle or grandfather. They cannot find a job. They would not go out to university or anywhere else. Women would go back to the 7th century. So this is why we have to oppose internationally. We have to keep our pressure, political and social pressure on governments, and bring people out to do whatever we can to oppose it and to make sure that women, universal rights of women are intact.
Do you think that Canada has done enough to take a stand on this issue?
I believe Canada has done nothing, in fact. Whatever happened in Canada is just because of the movement. This movement for secularism, for separation of church and separation of religion and state made the government to back. But in reality, they have done nothing in Afghanistan. When it comes to women's rights, they are negotiating. They are back. I mean, they just calming down. They're doing few steps back. They are bending towards political Islam. And to us, this is not acceptable. Women's rights are not negotiable. This is something that they have to realize. It's universal women's right. And what happens to Afghan women? It would happen to women in Canada, in Sweden, in Germany. We have to stop it right now.
So in 2005, you staged a protest to ban Sharia law in Canada. Are you concerned that this issue may be revisited again?
We in God. We always have our political movement running. We are always watching what they are doing. But it's not enough. We have to stop it where they are growing. We have to put pressure on governments. We have to involve people, bring them out in the streets. We have to make sure people are aware of what's happening. Lobbying is very important, and also lawful reform is very important. After all, we are fighting for equality. To gain this equality, it needs to come to a law and regulation. If we do not bring it to a law to protect women's rights, in my idea, women's rights would vanish totally.
Well, Homa, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And for more information about Homa and the Human Rights Initiative,